Supply Chain Management, BA 362, Chapter 4. In Chapter 4, we talk about sales forecasting and inventory management. So Chapter 4 starts talking about sales forecasting and the purpose of a sales forecast and the supply chain. So, sales forecasting is where we gather information and analyze it in an effort to estimate future sales. It's a planning activity. So, we're planning what our future sales to customers are going to be so that we can manage our inventory to make sure that we have it in stock as part of a customer service strategy. Why sales forecasting and what part of sales forecasting is part of supply chain management? Well, when we're planning, we need to make sure that we have enough inventory on stock to match sales. And as we're managing that inventory, that also makes sure that we have enough people on hand when we need them. So our labor is ready and available when we need it. We have enough trucks available for shipping demand. We have warehouse space for when we need to store inventory, especially if we're preparing for a special sales event and we're needing to store excess inventory than we would under a normal event, and that we have production capacity if we're a manufacturing firm making things from scratch, that we also plan into that we have time and labor to produce those items that need to be available for future sales. When we are trying to decide our level of inventory, we want to maintain the most inventory we can to maintain a customer service level, but to also have the lowest possible cost for inventory management. And that is a very delicate thing to balance. How do we minimize cost but maintain a customer service policy? So we have to determine exactly how much inventory that is. And that number changes depending on which inventory item we're even talking about. Why we forecast sales. So forecasts help us to determine the level of production needed to support sales. If we produce too much, we have excess inventory. Excess inventory costs us money to store, and we run into the danger of it going obsolete or being ruined, spoiled, or stolen while it's sitting around waiting to be sold. Too little production leads to stockouts and lost sales. So we're out of inventory, so our customers decide not to buy from us and potentially go to another business and buy from them. Both of these, either too much or too little, lead to higher costs. And so we're trying to fit into that just the right amount area. And so that is what we use sales forecasts for. There's two basic forecasting method for sales: qualitative forecasts and quantitative forecasts. So qualitative forecasts are based on judgment and knowledge. They're generally used when we don't have the numeric information we need, or the sales data we need is flawed in some way. We've had a major disruption and we don't believe the historical information is accurate anymore, or we're a brand new company, or we just have volatile sales. Quantitative forecasts are based on our historical sales data. What number did we sell in the past? If we believe that past sales are a good indicator of future sales, then we want to use that historical sales data. This is one of the most common methods of sales forecasting, is using your historical information to predict future demand. So Different methods of qualitative forecasting versus the consensus panel. So a consensus panel is formed by experts within our organization. Those experts talk to each other and try to come up with a consensus on a sales forecast based on their own knowledge of the market, of our industry, of our production processes. So, one potential problem with the consensus method is that instead of the ones with the best estimate, the consensus may drift towards experts with the strongest personalities. So, if you've ever been in a meeting where people are trying to voice their estimates and opinions and trying to get everybody to agree on a single estimate, it's usually those who are the loudest that are more likely to get consensus and not usually necessarily those with the best information. Okay? Another way to arrive at consensus is to take everyone's individual estimates and average them. Another qualitative forecasting method is the Delphi method. So the Delphi method is similar to the consensus panel in which we are trying to get a panel of experts to agree to a single thing. So try to get them to consensus. The difference from a consensus panel is that the Delphi method is completely anonymous. So in this, everyone writes down their estimates and sends them to a neutral party or a facilitator. That facilitator prepares a summary report and sends it back out to the experts. The experts don't know where the other estimates have come from, and so all they get is a summary of the estimates. Then they decide if they want to revise their estimate based on this summary report and the estimates of the other experts. And then they mail new estimates to the facilitator, and this process continues until they get to a consensus. Okay, so as we get closer and closer to agreeing. One of the downfalls of the Delphi method is that it can be very time consuming, especially when we're determining how we're sending information back and forth. In the past, before computers and email and electronic information, this was done very manually. And so if you had to take the time to mail things to a facilitator, that neutral party, and then take time to receive mail back. It is a little bit quicker with electronic facilitation now, but it still takes a long time for people to anonymously come to consensus. Okay. Salesforce estimates. So this is another method of qualitative forecasting. This is where we go to our sales team and we ask them for an estimate. This belief is that because the sales force is closest to the customers, they're in the best position to know what our future sales are going to be. They know what our customer needs are. They can detect changes in market trends. This is very common if we have a salesperson to customer model, where the only way for customers to order our products is to order through a salesperson. And there are a lot of companies that do this. They don't, send their stuff to Walmart or Target or any other merchandiser where it can be sold directly to the customer, but instead it's through a salesperson. Salesforce estimates are subject to bias because salespeople are motivated to have meetable goals. So especially if our performance is judged on our ability to make quotas, or our bonus is determined on our ability to make our sales forecast. We then have an incentive to under forecast because we want to make goals that we absolutely know we're going to hit. Um, so in order to counter this problem, some firms evaluate and compensate their sales force not only for meeting their quotas, but also providing accurate sales forecasts. So did you give us a good sales forecast or was it really off? And did we determine that it's off because you're trying to drive your bonus higher? We'll continue discussion of quantitative methods for forecasting in the next video.